and I see myself. I've been assisted. I've been helped. I didn't resist the help. I saw my condition, and I cried for help, and I accepted the help the Lord sent me. Now I can help somebody else. So I've often said, the first thing we do is holler, "Help me, Lord." And then after we get all the help we need, then we say, "Look, I can help somebody else now." And you'll be at the place where you've received enough help that you can pass the help you've helped some people with on with someone else. And then you become a profitable servant then. You're a non-profit up to that time. As long as the Lord's having to work on you, you're unprofitable to Him. But when you get to where He doesn't have to work on you anymore, then you begin to pay off then. When you hire into a factory someplace, they allow you a certain amount of time to get familiar with the workload and with the factory and its rules, and they don't expect to make very much money on you at all at first. In fact, they know they're going to lose some money on you at first, but after a while you get to where you break even. You say, "Well, I made my wages today." That's Mr. McNerney told me when I went in the garage. He said, "You've got to make 3 times your wages here, or I can't use you anymore." He said, you have to come up to where you make 3 times your wages. And he said, "I'll pay you a certain amount, and a certain amount goes in my pocket, and the other amount goes on the overhead here to furnish you a place to work with all these tools in here." He said, "Now, it costs me so much here to operate this place, and you have to make 3 times what I'm paying you before I realize anything from your work." So I said, "All right, Roy." I said, "You go get the business and bring it in, and I'll do it." I said, "I'll guarantee you I can make my 3 times my wages here while I'm working here in this garage." And I never failed until his health failed, and he began to lose his customers. And when he did, then, of course, he closed shop. And I was out of a job again because he closed shop. But if he'd kept the work coming in, I would have paid his third of my part of the overhead, and he would have been making money, putting it in his pocket, and I'd have been drawing my wages also. But when he failed his part, then that caused me to fail and caused the business to fail. And so he closed shop, and now I think there's a real estate office in that big building there on, is it Edison? It turned into a bowling alley first, and now I think it's a big real estate firm of some kind. Last time I was in Granite City, and it's not a garage anymore. Well, all right, when we start out for the Lord here, why, the Lord has to bear with our ignorance, our meanness, our dumbness, our stupidity, our ignorance, our carnality, our sinfulness. The Lord knows He has to bear with that. We're just kids, children, don't know what to do, don't know how to act. Peter said, "Now the first thing you do is to desire the sincere milk of the Word, that you might grow up from an infant into childhood, and then from childhood into manhood. And when you do, then you grow to the fullness of the measure of the stature of Christ unto a perfect man. Now you can become profitable to the Lord because you're able to help yourself and help others. First it's help me. And then the next, look, I can help myself. And then the next step is, look, I can help others. I got help. I'm helping myself now, and now I've got enough to help somebody else. There's where you become a profitable servant after that. After you break your way even with the Lord, then everything you do from then on is money in the pocket of the Lord. It works for Him from then on. And so up to that time, why, we're just a liability and not an asset. That's exactly where we stand in the Lord's side. He's putting up with us. He's bearing with us. He's not making a dime on us. How many people have you brought to the Lord? How many people have you helped overcome? How many people have you taught? What have you done for God? How many times have you ever testified? How many songs have you ever sung? How many prayers have you ever prayed? How many people have you ever showed kindness to when they showed rudeness towards you? How many times have you kept your mouth shut that you should have kept it shut and didn't open it? How many times have you been persecuted and you took it and said nothing about it? Went on your knees with a broken heart and poured out your heart to God. Stop to think of it. We owe the Lord that kind of a life. We owe Him that kind of service to His name. We owe Him that kind of thanks for what He's done for us. Have we paid off, or are we in debt? And so Paul said, so much as lie within me, I preach the gospel to everyone. For he says, I'm a debtor to the Jew and to the Greek, to the wise and to the foolish. I'm in debt to them. Are you in debt to your wife? Do you owe her an apology? Are you in debt to your husband? Do you owe your kids a testimony? Do you owe them the apologies for the way you treated them? Have you wronged anybody in your lifetime? Have you wronged anybody? Are they still around? Can you get to them and straighten that up? You're in debt till you do that. And then, did you make a Christian gesture of some kind toward everyone that you have met? Or did you hide your Christian life? Did you put your light under a bushel and didn't let it shine? Have you done your best financially in the church? Have you upheld the church? Have you talked about it? Have you run it down? What about it? What are you doing for God? What do you merit? Is God still in debt to you? Is he still blessing you? Is he still giving you life, furnishing you with the things of this life? Do you still get blessings from the Lord? What have you ever done for him? Stop to think of it. Just stop to think of it. We're all unprofitable servants. God has not profited scarcely one thing from our life since we've had the Holy Ghost. He hasn't profited enough to even pay us or give us a tip of any kind. When you think of it, he said, after you've done all, 14th chapter Luke said, after you've done all that you're told to do, then say, I am still unprofitable. I've done everything I've just been told to do. I haven't done something I haven't been told to do. I've just done what I've been told to do. He said, that means that you're unprofitable yet until you go and do a lot of things that you're not told to do, but it's bravery beyond the call of duty. When a soldier's in the army, he's in there to carry out the orders of the men that's over him. But if he goes beyond that and performs and jeopardizes his life doing deeds for his nation, and he wasn't told to do it, but he blows a house up over here, he shoots 100 men over there, and he blows a tank up or something, he's going beyond the call of duty. And when he gets through, he's going to be decorated. He's going to have medals of honor pinned all over him. If he gets hurt while that's going on, he's going to get the Purple Heart with a nice big check. Then he's going to retire from the army with a lifetime income because he's been decorated for bravery. And he went beyond the call of duty and forfeited and gave up things in this life. He could have done it. Paul said, have not I the right? Don't I have the right to lead about a wife, a sister, like the other apostles? But he said, I'm not going to do it. I've got the right. It's lawful for me to have a wife. But he says, I'm not going to have a wife. I'm not going to tie myself down. I'm going to turn myself loose. Where the time I'd be given a wife and providing her a living, I'll be out there preaching to another Jew someplace or to another Gentile. And so I'm going to go beyond even my duty here. And I'm going to work day and night. And when I get in jail, I'm going to preach in jail when I get there. And I'm not going to lay down there and murmur and complain. And here the man was just going beyond all reason. Just, I guess what I'm doing here right now. I should have been in there an hour ago and got my, what do all I have to have? Anyhow, I'm diabetic, and I've got to get in there. It's been 4 hours here since I've put anything in my body or had my insulin. And so, look, I don't count my own life dear at all. My life is not a darling to me. My life is a darling to you. It's dear to you, but it isn't dear to me. And Paul mentioned certain people that worked when they were sick and worked until they got sick, rendering service to the church. You think people like that's not going to have a great reward? But there's some people who won't even do what they're told to do. They won't even do their duty, what they're supposed to do to help the church along, much less go beyond and render a lot of service and do things that you ordinarily wouldn't expect out of them, but they're still doing good to everybody they come in contact with. Jesus was just that type of a man when he was on this earth. Bless his heart. He went about doing good, healing all that was oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. And he said that he was so busy that they didn't have any leisure, not even took time out to eat. And when they went into town to buy victuals to prepare a meal for him, he was preaching to that woman in Samaria. And when they came back, Jesus told him, says, I have food to eat that you know not of. And they thought, well, somebody's brought him a dinner since we've gone. somebody brought him some sandwiches or something. He said, no, it's not that. He said, my food is to do the will of my Father, which is in heaven.